All right, Albert, we're not here to actually talk about retirements. That was just fun. I think that we should get into the meat of the show here. And one of the things that we discussed before we left was, and if you missed the end of our optimistic, realistic series, we also tacked on to that last episode some thoughts on what was going on with the NFLPA and the NFL and this collusion case against fully guaranteed contracts. Well, as is expected, the NFLPA rallied hard around Lloyd Howell and released a statement basically backing him, going all in on the new director of the NFLPA. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I guess the move is typically nowadays you don't see an organization immediately react to a piece of journalism and then go, oh no, and you're right, and he's fired. It's always immediately defend, say that you're going to do some kind of due diligence, and then if you need to make changes, make changes. But the NFLPA, they said they categorically reject false reports insinuating doubts within this committee or suggestions that we have asked our executive director to step down. They're saying he's here. So I don't know. Take it from here. What do you think?
Yeah, but then they talked about the gathering of the facts and being deliberate about it. So like they were sort of, I mean, they left it open, and I do think, at least from what I've heard, like there's been some things happening that would suggest that they're at least preparing for the possibility that something could happen. And I mean, look, like I think one of the most important things with any of these big unions is knowing that the union is fighting for you. And, I think I would say like the first of all, the job that Pablo Torre, Mike Florio, and Don Van Natta and our friend Kalen Kaler have done on this, deserves mention here, and bringing a lot of stuff out into the light. And I think, I just feel like this has been like a trickle, and then splash, right? Like, which is like the first piece of it was the collusion and the surfacing of the decision by the arbitrator on collusion, which didn't convict the NFL, but definitely gave us enough to chew on there, and stuff that I think in the past, the union, while D. Smith was in charge, they would have viewed what was in that decision as gold, right? Like real evidence that NFL owners are working together to suppress guaranteed contracts. And people who missed it in the aftermath of the Deshaun Watson contract, there was an owners meeting, there were slides presented by the management council on why teams couldn't go forward with guaranteed contracts the way the Browns did with Deshaun Watson. And, then after that, it was in there that the Broncos had sort of done a U-turn under their new ownership on whether or not they were going to give Russell Wilson a fully guaranteed deal. And then there was the text conversation between the Cardinals owner, Michael Bidwell, and the Chargers owner, Dean Spanos, where Spanos said to Bidwell, hey, more or less, hey, thanks for getting that deal done the way you got it done with Kyler Murray, because it's going to help us with Justin Herbert as far as keeping guaranteed money out of a deal. So all of that stuff was really, really damning. And so when that story, when the story came out and it was reported that it was against the wishes of the NFL and the NFLPA, that should have raised a red flag for everybody, because the NFL obviously would want that remaining confidential, but the NFLPA, you would think, would want to make that as public as humanly possible. So then to me, the next question was, well, why? Right. And there are a lot of reasons why. And, part of it relates, as I've heard it, to this $12 million in legal fees that the NFL feels like they could go after, having won the collusion case. And, did the NFL use that as leverage to get confidentiality on the document and prevent the union from appealing on the decision because the NFLPA isn't flush with cash right now? All of that's possible. But then, and this is where Van Natta and Kalen came into play, there was the detail that Lloyd Howell is a paid consultant for a private equity firm that is one of the private equity firms that's been approved to buy into NFL ownership. And so if you made the effort to get approval to buy into NFL ownership, you obviously intend to buy into an NFL team. And if Lloyd Howell is working for that firm, then that's a problem, because now he is, part of a group that's looking to be approved to go into NFL ownership, while also being on the opposite side of the table of owners on behalf of the players. So the whole thing is really, really murky. And I think, to me, and I know there might be some people out there whose eyes are glazing over hearing all of this, but I think it's really hard if you're a player right now to trust what's happening. And so how does the NFLPA get the toothpaste back in the tube and get the trust of the players back?
That's the windfall. Like that. Yeah. So if you're a fan and you're like, why should I care about this? The entire structure with which players achieve some sort of trust and security in knowing that someone's fighting for them. And again, I think this is one important note here is to stop and to say, fans say these guys make millions of dollars. Who cares? The NFLPA are, pushing for, or at least supposed to be pushing for objectives that keep them on the field, hopefully longer, that take care of them when they're done playing, and a lot of stuff that's really important to these guys. And so when the trust is eroded as quickly as it was, that's what's important. And you have these rookies going into their first season and they're like, what the hell is going on? You have these vets trying to get second contracts that are wondering what on earth is happening here. And I think that that's important because you don't play your best under mass uncertainty. You just don't. And the NFLPA was supposed to be a rock for these guys and is struggling to maintain that facade right now.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, again, like I've at least heard that there are things happening behind the scenes that are that I mean would indicate that the people who have been involved with the NFLPA are preparing for all outcomes. I don't know, man. Like I just it's hard for me not to connect this back to where we've been over the last 15 to 20 years. I mean, D. Smith was incredibly combative. And that was sort of his charge, right? Like, because when he came in, it was with the idea that they had to do things a little bit differently. Because Gene Upshaw, for all the great things he accomplished, was seen by some as being too cozy with Paul Tagliabue and vice versa. The owners thought Tagliabue was too cozy with Upshaw.
Right.
And so like the idea was they were going to have somebody who's going to be a little bit more combative and who was going to go after the league. And they got that in D. Smith. The tone has sort of swung back, with Lloyd Howell, who's taken more of a businessman's approach to all of this. And because he's been less combative, because he's been less, I would say, militant about issues like 18 games and all of that, it's very easy for anybody now to tie that approach with everything that we found out over the last couple of weeks, So, like if I'm a player right now, I would look at it like, am I positive that I've got a guy carrying the flag for me who is vigorously and and intentionally and like solely going to be pursuing what's best for me? I don't know how you can be sure of that right now if you're a player.
So here's my long and short of it, right? Mm-hmm. He needs to go, and it needs to be wrong. And there are things that just need to be wrong. Is this a bad take? Like, for example, Tom Brady should not be a minority owner of the Raiders. Like, and I'm sick of all these little things where we just take the rules and then we just stretch them and then we pull them out and we hold them up in a way that's like, oh, okay, well, if you look at it really this way, then this person can do that or that person can do this, even though it very clearly says in any sort of document that we make up about the rules of this organization that it shouldn't happen. And I I think everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but there is a point here where some people in power just get to milk the teat for so long. And it's just like, dude, you got caught. The guy that you installed as the executive director is trash talking the players on text messages that we're seeing. Like, all this needs to be cleared out. I don't care what good you did. You all have to go. And you have to be replaced, and you have to be replaced with people that have a responsibility for these players and are going to give the middle finger to the NFL and are going to get these guys what they want. Like, so for me, I think it's just, we can sit here all day and intellectualize, but all we're doing is giving this guy a massive excuse on a silver platter. Just get him out.
It's like, and I don't know that people really understand the uphill battle that the NFLPA is fighting. It's a incredibly difficult job, and it's, and I always said this about D. Smith. Like, I think it was, like, for what he was given, I think he did a pretty decent job. And it's because ultimately, like, in sports unions, the ultimate trump card is the work stoppage. Is how do you make the owners feel pain? Well, you make the owners feel pain by taking money out of their pocket. And the way you do that is by stopping working. And that's a really difficult thing to do if your rank and file player, and this is where the NFL is different than the other sports, is maybe going to make it 2 or 3 years in the league, is maybe going to make it to $1 million in career earnings, is on a non-guaranteed contract. Like, to me, that's, all of it, right? Like, you add the whole thing up, and it's really, really, really difficult to win anything, because those players aren't walking away from paychecks to make a point. Those players aren't walking away from paychecks, and rightfully so, to benefit somebody 10 or 20 years from now. And it was proven in 2011, like when the NFLPA took the owners to the mat and fought. And then right before training camp, wound up striking a deal. It's because they knew the union, the people in charge of the union, they knew where their limits were. And so It's a tough job. Again, like, the rank and file basketball player makes like $4 or $5 million a year and lasts a decade in the league. Like, it's just, that guy can sacrifice a couple of paychecks to make a point. Like, a football player can't. The rank and file football players can. So it's an incredibly difficult job, and it takes somebody who, I really feel this way. It takes somebody who is all in, and that's why I think you're looking at it now, and like, even like the appearance of him being, well, maybe he's 10% over there on the other side, 15% over there on the other side. Like, that's unacceptable. Like, that's not good enough. And if it's proven to be the case, then I'm with you. He has to be out.
Until that happens, like, where do you go as a player? It's just, it really is. It really is silly. And this guy was double dipping, and I read the statements. It's like, oh, well, yeah, he had nothing to do with this. Nothing. Sorry, pal. You just can't do it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just can't do it.
He's a pretty smart guy. You should know better.
Yes. Open and shut. And that's what I wish, again, I don't want this immediate, like, end of Batman, Dark Knight Rises speed trials where you just get thrown into a river if you do something bad. But, like, we can, I think the NFLPA can restart here.